All right, everyone. Well, we are very luckily joined this morning by Dewey Cooper. Dewey, getting straight into it, we've got your pupil and friend Bubba Jenkins joining us in the show in a little bit. How proud of him were you to see him perform so well a few weekends ago, especially fighting through the adversity of the eye poke in the third round?
Extremely proud. Again, it was something that I expected. Bubba has been putting a lot of work in the gym. He looked fantastic in sparring leading up to his PFL debut for that 2022 season. Mm-hmm. So the expectations were high, and he met the standard that we plan on always fighting with. We have a standard, and Bubba did his thing. But he looked like that in the gym, so it was the same old story for all of us. The world were pretty shocked, but we expected it, and we expect a encore performance coming up.
Dewey, as a coach, you've trained and worked with the who's who of combat sports for years on end. I'm sure every fighter has made you proud one way or another, but has there been a specific moment in your coaching career that has really stood amongst the rest in terms of a moment where one on the top of my head was Ngannou fighting through all that adversity, to come through the adversity and beat Gunn and use the wrestling and everything like that? That was, for me as a fan, I was like, wow, I'm proud of him. You know what I mean? So has there ever been a moment like that for you in your coaching career?
I've had a few. The Ngannou moment against Gunn was definitely a wow moment, but the Stipe moment with Francis in the rematch was a more wow moment for me. It was a moment where I was thankful to be a part of the team and all of that. But I had a moment before that was great also. This boxer I trained named Jesse Vargas, we fought for the WBO welterweight world championship against an undefeated boxer named Saddam Ali. We came into the fight a 4-1 underdog. We're live on HBO, Showtime, Boxing After Dark on a Golden Boy card. When Jesse was signed with Top Rank, they brought us in to get beat up. And Jesse Vargas scored his first knockout in 5 years. It was our debut fight together, and he knocks out Saddam Ali and won the welterweight WBO welterweight world title. Later on that year, we ended up fighting Manny Pacquiao, an iconic fighter, after that. So that was a great moment for me because no one thought Jesse could beat Saddam Ali, especially stopping him. And I predicted the round he would stop Saddam Ali in the fighter meetings with Max Kellerman, Jim Lampley, and Bernard Hopkins. And they all thought it was crazy. They said, Jesse Vargas hadn't had a knockout in 5 years. Why do you think he's going to knock out someone as talented as Saddam Ali? And I told them, I'm going to give you guys one key word, hips, H-I-P-S, hips. You'll see what I mean tomorrow. And when Jesse knocked out Saddam Ali, Bernard Hopkins looked at me and said, you said it. You know what I mean? So that was a great moment.
Yeah.
But besides that Stipe rematch, I, in particular, got banished in that first Stipe fight because for some reason people thought, with Francis Ngannou and Stipe, for some reason people thought I was putting dry towels on Francis Ngannou between the rounds at that first Stipe fight. And people were saying, oh, Francis is tired. Why is his incompetent coach putting towels on him? He's already hot. It's going to heat his body up, make him more exhausted. But to their dumbass chagrin, those towels were soaked in cold water. They were freezing cold towels to try to cool his body off. I've been doing this shit for over 30 years. I'm not an ignoramus. I can't believe people really banished me in particular for that. The towels were cold, all of that. So in the rematch of the Stipe Francis Ngannou fight, I told the world before the fight was going to happen. Media, not you guys, but a lot of media was saying, we haven't seen any changes in Francis. We've seen the same Francis. It's going to be the same story. I told everyone, he had experience. I told everyone he had evolved. And I told everyone that he's a real mixed martial artist now. He's developed, and he was going to stop Stipe in the rematch. That's exactly what happened. So the Jesse Vargas and the Francis win that UFC strap. The only belt that I hadn't won as a coach was that UFC title. I won boxing titles, kickboxing, and bare knuckle titles as a coach. That UFC strap was eluding me. because you remember what happened with Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I really want that UFC strap just to be like, okay, I got all the straps as a coach. And that one was another big one for me. So those were the two, Jesse Vargas, Francis Ngannou.
For sure. And that kind of leads into our next question a bit, Dewey. So I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the rule set that you thought should be in place for Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. You basically said 8-ounce MMA gloves in a cage, somewhat akin, I guess, to bare knuckle rules. From the outside looking in, a casual fan might say, well, why not widen the rule set a little bit to favor Francis? But do you feel that Fury is unlikely to accept the fight the more that the rule set kind of mirrors MMA?
Well, boxing is a sport that's been here for over, 125 years. So I have tremendous amounts of respect for boxing. A lot of MMA people look at boxing like it's the old shit. Out with the old, in with the new. I have a tremendous amount of respect for boxing and boxers in particular. So we see Mayweather and Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor do their thing in a boxing ring, boxing gloves, boxing rules. We've seen that. Tyson Fury is a little more of an extreme guy. Yeah. He's okay with fighting with MMA gloves on. He's okay with jumping in the cage. He's okay with a lot of things. So we figured we'll still keep the tradition of boxing going, but yeah, make it a little more hybrid. Make it smaller gloves. Make it in a cage. Make it some clinching and punching. Remember, all the rules have not been agreed upon because nothing's really agreed upon until it can be.
Yeah,
of course.
With the litigation with the UFC and Francis. But we still want to be a boxing fight. Francis had dreams of becoming a boxer. That's what led him to mixed martial arts anyway. Tyson Fury is the best boxer in the world. Francis is the mixed martial arts best heavyweight champion in the world. So, boxing is something they both are willing to do. If it weren't just boxing, we'd have too big of an advantage. If it were a kickboxing fight or elbows and knees, it just wouldn't be fair to the boxer. So we feel, or not we, I was speaking for me in particular, I feel we could keep it boxing, but just make it a little more special. Because Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury, if they are going to fight, we got to admit that's going to be a very special fight. Two of the best heavyweights in the world getting it on. And when you put the MMA gloves on, that levels the playing field out in itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because, all that shucking and jiving,
the Philly shell doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets different. You put it in a cage, a little more different. Put it with some clinching and punching, little more different. You know what I mean? It's boxing, but now it's extreme boxing.
Yeah.
And that's what the state of mixed martial arts is, extreme fighting. So why not make it an extreme boxing match so there's no excuses for whomever wins?
For sure.
100%. Dewey, as a man who is as busy as you are, constantly training fighters, flying in and out to different states to corner your fighters and the rest, when you eventually do get some downtime, what are some things that Dewey Cooper enjoys outside of fighting?
Man, I enjoy two things. Well, I'll say three things. I enjoy spending time with my daughter, Shaolin Cooper. She's a 16-year-old 11th grader here in Vegas, Bishop Gorman High School, scholar and athlete. I spend a lot of time with her. And besides that, I spend time with my lady, Katrina, or my nephew, David. I've been around the world. I've done a lot of exciting things, trust me. And when you start realizing none of that shit matters, the parties, the entourage, the groupies, the extravagant, whatever you're doing, none of that shit matters, man. What matters are the people who really love you. And when your ass is sick, old, in that bed, the people who are going to come care for you and really be sad when you're in pain, really be in misery when you're sick. I realized that a long time ago, and I said, man, I'm spending my time. Work is work. Training my fighters, that's a lifestyle, but it's still work. I have to do that to make a living for my family. But other than that, I spend no time with anything else but my daughter, my girl, and my nephew, because these are the people that mean everything to me. if I were to lose my hands today or get hit in the head today and could never give anyone any insightful advice to make them a better fighter, I know my daughter Shaolin will be there. I know my love Katrina will be there. And I know my nephew Big David Hayes gonna hold me down. And those are the only people. Those are the only people I give a fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
Not like that, I care about other people. I care about all people.
Yeah. But it's different when it's your family.
Yeah, but the people that I'm spending my time with, man, are them. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do none of that shit, man. I get invited to parties every weekend. I ain't doing none of that shit. Every extra second I get, I'm spending with my family because I love them and they love me. And I'm over the illusion of being cool and popular. I've been cool and popular my whole life. Junior high school, college. My whole life, I had people want to hang out with me and groupies and entourages. That shit don't mean nothing, man. And by the way, I'm more happy at 47, going on 48 years old now that I've been in my entire fucking life. So I finally got it right.
That's
for sure. So, Dewey, just over a month and a half ago, we had Australian's own Tim Tszyu make his US debut. While he was in Australia, he completely dominated every opponent. So we, for one, are very glad to see him finally choose to go over to the US. We read an article recently while he was training with you at Split T Boxing Club with you saying he's a marketable guy, a gentleman type, but he's a real killer in the ring. The Americans are going to love him. After his great performance against Terrell Gausha, how long is it before you think Tim can become a world champion in boxing over in the States?
Well, honestly, Tim had some adversity. He got hit, went down, got up, and won every round. Things like that happen. But unfortunately, in America, the people in America are hard sell if you're a foreigner and if you don't come out and look spectacularly dominant. You know what I mean? That opened Pandora's box for Charlo. Jamel, after winning his fight, he called out Tim, said he's nobody, this and that. I think he needs a few more fights in America. Get used to that American style. Get used to that American cockiness and trash talk. And maybe a guy push you at the way in and don't give a damn that your dad's one of the greatest Russian fighters in the history of mankind. In other words, Tim got to get some hood up in him. Remember, guys?
He's so nice.
Remember Tyson Fury. You guys, Tyson Fury, best heavyweight in the world right now. He left the UK training and went to Detroit, went to Krug's gym. Back and made himself with the brothers. Got a brother in his corner. Got the swag. He had to get a little hood up in him. You know what I mean?
True. That's true.
Right now, it sounds like a joke, but it's really not. It's a culture out there that if you're not used to, it could be a little. A little strange, a little not quite scary. Not saying no one's scared because they're, but it's just something that you have to acclimate yourself to. And you've seen Tyson Fury did it, and it really worked out well for him. I think Tim still needs to do something like that also. Just get out here in America, for an extended amount of time. I'm not saying switch his team. Bring his team out. Go to some of the gyms. Get some work in with that black style boxing, with that Mexican style boxing, with that straight American grumpy brawler street style boxing. Just so he realizes that this ain't such a gentleman's sport as he wants it to be.
Yeah,
I trained Tim. I know his manager. Tim has came out here and trained with me several times years ago. I got to show you guys the Tim Tszyu challenge him and I did. It's like a 100-punch combination. It's awesome. Anyway, I think Tim has exceptional talent. I know he'll become a world champion. But that last fight he had showed that he needs to have a little more urgency and a little more,
a little more Don Fry in him to just grab someone and start throwing.
Just a picture hood, hood. Yeah. And I love Tim Tszyu. I love Tim Tszyu, and I definitely wish him the best. And I feel he will become a world champion. Charlo impressed me his last fight, man. That was, if you guys didn't see that last fight, I was there in Carson live.
Wow.
What a fight. What a fight!
Great fight.
You know, I think that fight helped Charlo get to another level. Before the fight, I was saying Tim Tszyu is ready for Charlo now. But after that fight, I feel like Charlo may have went up another step. Yep. And Tim Tszyu was in that ballpark. He's the right guy to be the mandatory. Mm-hmm. But I feel 1 or 2 more fights in America.
Yeah.
Go through a little pre-fight adversity, dude talking shit before the fight, trying to fight you at the weigh-in.
Yeah. 100%.
Just to make sure Tim has every experience inside him, psychologically, physically, and mentally, to get through a fight with Charlo. Because one thing about either Jamal or Jamel, if you fight a Charlo brother, it's going to be some gangster shit going on before the fight. 100%. It's going to be violent. It's going to be aggressive. And it's not going to be a pleasant type press conference tour. So these are the things I really, and by the way, I'm being blatantly honest with you guys. I'm not sugarcoating nothing. So I really feel these are the things that Tim should do. I could have got up here and said, no, Tim's ready. We love Tim. I'm just telling you the truth.
Appreciate the honesty, man. Dewey, from the outside looking in, one would look at Fury and the Ngannou match and say, well, Ngannou brings the power and Fury brings the technique. Whilst there isn't certainly an element of that, do you think there are areas technically where Francis could present problems to Fury?
Yes, absolutely, because we've seen Otto Wallen hit Fury a lot. We've seen Otto Wallen damage Fury, and the fight should have been stopped. The cut was so bad. Anyone else, the fight is stopped. Otto could have been champion of the world. We've seen Fury get lazy in fights. We've seen him knocked down several times. And guys, with a smaller glove,
it's different.
And Francis landing those punches, you won't see that zombie like Frankenstein wake up from the dead, get up off the canvas at a 9 count. A lot of people, when you say boxing, Francis versus Tyson Fury, they say, "Are you kidding me? That's not even a match." But guys, you give Francis 6 months of straight boxing training like he's gonna have. Not worried about wrestling, not worried about getting kicked in the leg, where he can just straight box. And now you put it in a cage. You change the gloves. You modify the rules a little bit. Things can get different. Fury, what was his advantage over Deontay Wilder? Inside fighting, walking him down, leaning on him, roughhouse tactics, pushing him around, big brothering him. He can't big brother Francis.
He can't rope a dope in the cage.
But even Fury likes to hold you and lean on you and shit. He can't do that with Francis. That a lot of tactics that he did with Deontay Wilder, he can't do with Francis. He's got to be the astute boxer with Francis. All that inside leaning on Francis and shit, getting hit with those hammers Francis throwing, boy, it's a little different. So Francis, of course, will refine his boxing and clean it up a bit more so than what you guys are expecting, for sure. And with smaller gloves on in a cage, it's going to get real interesting. Fury has made a career. He got knocked down by Steve Cunningham. He's been dropped, 3 times by Deontay Wilder. Let me tell you something. Get dropped by Francis Ngannou, ain't no getting up.
And we've seen that.
We'll see. And we all agree. We know what Fury can do. That Ali jab, that swag, combination punching, hard to hit. He's super talented. So as a coach, that ain't no easy fight for us either.
Of course not.
But I'm just telling you guys, it's way more real and way more competitive than what people think, for sure.
For sure. So, Dewey, as a coach, I wanted to ask you, have you ever had a moment before a fight where you were concerned about putting one of your athletes in the cage or in the ring, and whether your concern came from the skill level of the opponent or the dedication of your student? If so, how did you handle or approach that situation?
I've had that about 3 times in my career. And twice it was for the dedication of the fighter. You know, guys start missing training, smoking weed, getting drunk, hanging out with chicks, just not taking their opponents seriously. And I have a saying: if you don't take your opponent seriously, he will become a serious opponent. So that's happened several times where I had to call guys and threaten them like, yo, man, I'm not going to train you no more. This is ridiculous. We got a fight coming up. Please. I've had to go to guys' houses and pick them up and make them come to the gym. It's like, bro, please. But one time, it was a situation where I knew a fighter wasn't ready, and I told them not to fight. You're just not ready. And they told me, please, coach, no matter what I'm fighting, whether you do it or not. And I try to talk them out of fighting so bad. They end up fighting, and it happened exactly like I thought. You know, they got hurt, stopped, and all of that. And it was a bad thing. But only once where I felt like the fighter just wasn't ready. And I don't want to say the name, but it was a fighter who transitioned from boxing to MMA, their first MMA fight. And, and they did it in a 2-week span. Never MMA.
No.
Trained for 2 weeks, got an MMA fight and just did it. And I told them, I said, there's no way you're not ready. I had them spar with one of my kickboxers the week before the week of the fight. And my kickboxer beat them up real easy with just leg kicks because they weren't used to striking. They were only used to boxing. Yeah. And it was bad. And I begged them. I said, please don't. Please don't. It came down to the fighter saying, listen, you guys support me. I'm doing it with or without you. They paid me X amount of dollars. Please just rock with me. I said, but you're not ready. You're going to get stopped. Yeah. And they got stopped. They got to the first round and stopped at the beginning of the second round. And it was never a fight. That was the one that stuck with me because I should have just been like, fuck it, I'm not going. But I felt loyal to my fighter, and they were going to go anyway. But I just knew we had no shot. And it happened. The other two were guys just being lazy. I knew they weren't going to win because at some point, attrition would kick in. You know, once your ass get tired, it's a done deal. But in those first two cases, there were a chance we could win. But the reason why I knew we weren't, because I knew if it came down to gas tank, if it came down to attrition, they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't have that second and third gear. But I'm glad you asked me that question. You know, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me a question so candid and so real. And through those experiences, here's how you can tell if a person has gained wisdom or if they're wise. Through the experiences we have, we modify ourselves, right? That shit happened to me 3 times as a coach. It won't happen again. Earlier this year, I had a fighter said the same situation. I said, I'm out. You know, I learned from those past experiences. So that's your question. I told you an elaborate story about what happened, but that shit will never happen again to me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, 100%.
Never happen again.
Yeah. Dewey, a couple last questions from us, man. As a highly accredited striker, as well as a coach that is still actively working in the game, what aspect do you think, be it technique or approach to striking, do you think is the most underrated in today's MMA landscape?
Well, it's not underrated anymore, but every coach is going to say the same thing, the jab.
The jab,
every coach. But I think footwork and understanding reflex, you know, understanding, how can I say this? Okay, proper positioning. Footwork, reflex, proper positioning. Okay, staying locked in, like the whole time. No playing to the crowd, no losing focus. Stay locked in the entire fight. So many guys start out good, then they're walking around, they're squaring up, they're getting sloppy, they're not recalling their punches, and they get caught. You know, staying really focused. People take this fight thing like it's a game, man. This is life or death for many people out there. So the most underrated thing I feel in MMA is guys staying focused. Oh, and guys doing road work. Let me re-answer that question. I'm sorry.
No,
the most underrated thing in mixed martial arts right now, hands down, is fucking guys not wanting to run. They want to get on the aerodime and elliptical and all that shit. That's the most hands down, guys need to run. Guys will run once or twice a week and think that's something. Dude, house moms run more than a lot of MMA fighters. Once or twice a week should be bare minimum. So in boxing, boxers run 5 days a week. Everybody run every day. MMA, these guys don't want to run. So that's the most underestimated thing in MMA right now is fighting. But as far as a weapon, definitely the jab and just staying in position, staying focused.
Yeah, for sure. So, Dewey, look, final question from us, and we really appreciate your time today. Looking at the business model of the UFC, there are sort of two sides when it comes to fighter pay. There's let's pay every fighter $30 million for every fight. And then there are those that say, well, we can't do that because then we end up like boxing, where the activity of fighters is going to drop a bit and the guys and gals that are at the top of the card are going to be taking the largest percentage of the purse. I can personally see sort of each side's argument, but in your opinion, do you think if the fighter pay in MMA rivaled or surpassed boxing, it would begin to water down the activity of the fighters in the sport?
I can tell you emphatic no. No. I mean, bottom line is that's stupid. That's like saying any job we have, right? If we make more money, we're going to do less. No, man. If you're making money, you're going to do more. You might get lazy. You might not train, but you want to continue making those checks. People that say that is I'm like, okay, so if you get a raise at your job, you get a promotion at your job, you're not going to be hungry to work there anymore. That's human nature. You're going to keep working. Why do you think Conor McGregor was fighting so much? He was making more money than anyone. I mean, to say that is ridiculous. Guys are gonna fight who want to fight. If fighting's in your heart, you're gonna do it. If you're getting paid more money, you're gonna want to do it more. Why? Because now you're getting into that realm of generational wealth, where you can take care of your family's family, and that's what the guys are trying to get to. It may be a bad business model for the execs up top or the shareholders, but it's not going to make the fighters fight any less. They're going to fight more. They want to make those checks, man. You could ask any fighter in the world. They're going to say, man, if I made $30 million and wasn't in their brain dead, I'm going to want another $30 million. I want that shit 3 times a year. I mean, the motivation is the same. And a lot of guys really want to become champion. There's only one champion. You have to keep fighting to climb those rankings to become champion. So all those top 10 guys definitely want to keep fighting, to keep stacking their paper to get to that championship. Once you get to that championship, you got to maintain that belt. You got you got to defend that belt. So to me, that's ridiculous. I'm a fighter, man. I fought my whole life. The more money that came up, the more you want to do it, not less. No, when you get old and loquacious and lethargic and complacent, that's different. But that's not the mass percentage of the fighters they're talking about. Motherfuckers want to fight. Dudes trying to get money, and they need to get paid more. That's the bottom line. The pay needs to increase, or at least stop this. One thing that needs to stop for sure is half or half. If you win, you get 100,000.
The win-loss model is just broken. It's ridiculous. Bullshit. Yeah, first to first. If my total amount that I could win is 100,000, 50 and 50, I should get 100,000. Because what if I beat you and I get a bad decision? The whole world said I won. I only get half my money. That's ridiculous. It should be a fight first. And then bonuses. It shouldn't be if you win, you get twice. If you lose, you get half. That's bullshit. That's a straight hustle. And it's no one's fault. It's just the way it is. But that should definitely be changed immediately, man. It's bad. Especially you've seen great fights where both guys went to war. A split decision went yay or nay. Wale and Joanne, for instance. A fight like that. They both won. I didn't see anyone lose. But someone got half their money. You know what I mean? Fights like that is ridiculous. So, a new structure needs to be done. If it's not quite like boxing, do something better to show the influx of the sport of MMA, how it's gotten more popular. Do something to increase the influx to the fighters too. The sport, the fighters should represent the reflection of the sport. And since mixed martial arts as a whole is growing, since the UFC numbers are growing,
in the sport, the fan base, and the money they're accumulating, so should be the fighters' pay. Just keep it relative, man. That's fair. We're not asking to take all the money, but keep the shit relative.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dewey, and fighter pay is something that we at From the Stands have always fought for. It's one of the biggest things that we feel passionately about. But Dewey, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to talk to you and have you on and hear some of your insights. So look, Dewey, thank you very much. We wish you all the best in your coaching career, and we'd love to chat to you again sometime in the future.
Thank you. Anytime. Thank you, guys. All you guys, my Australian brethren, my British brethren, anytime, man. Holla at your boy. You ever in Vegas, come see me.
Oh, we will for sure. I'd love to train with you.
We're planning to, so we appreciate that, Dewey.
Yeah.
All right, Dewey.
Last thing, anybody out there in Australia, down under, New Zealand, wherever you at, if you have an Instagram, follow me at DC Black Cobra. DC Black Cobra. Cobra with a K. DC BlackKobra. Thank you, guys.
And we'll bless that out. See you, Dewey. Thanks
very much.
Appreciate
you, Dewey.
Bye.